All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. But before we do, I just want to go ahead and give a quick sound check. If everybody can hear me fine, can you just give me a confirmation, like a yes in your questions box, box, please? Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go ahead and get started. Again, this is our webinar in Google reCAPTCHA. Some of you may have it, some of you may not, but thank you for attending. So before we get started, we're going to do some introductions. So on our end, we have Paulette. You all know her. She is our director of our client experience. And then we have me, Adam Jennings, and I am the new trainer here. Yes, that is a picture of me right now, just so you guys know. That's how I look. And so now that we have that going over, our introductions, if you have any questions whatsoever, all you guys already had that confirmation. So there is a question box right here on your screen. If you have any questions at any time during the webinar, go ahead and put that on there, and we'll go ahead and answer them during our webinar. All right. So what we're going to go over, though, our objectives is going to be going into what exactly is reCAPTCHA. And then we're going to talk about the benefit of using reCAPTCHA. After that, we'll go into creating a Google reCAPTCHA account, and then adding it to your WSM account, and then finally going over how to add it to an inquiry form. And throughout the presentation, we're actually going to do some live demonstrations as well. So during each part of my webinar, what's going to happen is I'm going to go from the PowerPoint into it. So I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to go over, and then I'm going to show you how it's done. Again, any questions whatsoever, please let us know, and we'll answer them as soon as we get to them. All right. So what exactly is reCAPTCHA? First, I want to let everybody know that this is available to all of our clients right now. No matter if you're standard, professional, premium, it is a Google service that is provided by Google, and we have added it, the option to our website, to WSM. So it uses a lot of advanced risk analysis engines and adaptive challenges to keep automated software from engaging in abusive activities on your site. That's just a fancy way of saying that, hey, we're going to reduce spam that goes to your site, and the outcome will actually increase your website security, as well as limiting the amount of spam that can be harmful to your website as well. So if you're unsure what reCAPTCHA looks like or does in the front end of your website, it's actually, you probably have already encountered it once or twice before when you're on the website. If you're ever signing up for a newsletter, there's going to be a box on there that says, I am not a robot. What happens is that you can click on that, and it will usually give you a security passage, meaning that there's some pictures that you need to click on. And says, hey, pick all the pictures that have a bridge on it or a car on it. Or sometimes if you just check on the I'm not a robot, you may actually just continue on. So if anyone on your website ever signs up for a newsletter or requests an inquiry, you have the ability to add reCAPTCHA to ensure no bots are spamming your website. And again, this is a very beneficial tool to make sure that your website's not getting any harmful malware. So if you do not have a Google reCAPTCHA account, that's pretty easy to get one. So you can log in with your Google Analytics account, and you can just simply Google reCAPTCHA in the search bar, and then you're going to want to click on where it says Admin Console. All right. When you click on Admin Console, there's going to be 6 fields that you're going to want to fill in, and the first 3 are going to be your label, which is used for your a quick title for your site. You can label it as whatever you want. reCAPTCHA, you can also choose which you want to choose version 2, which is I am not a robot option. And then your domains, you're going to want to put your website name. So you're not going to put the HTTPS, which is the full URL. You're just going to put the domain name. So for the example I have on here, it's going to be www.whatever your site is, and then .com. And to give you an idea of what it actually looks like, on the front end, excuse me, on the Google services, of course, we have web shop. Your label is going to be, for our example, guest.webshopmanager.com. And your CAPTCHA type is always going to be version 2, and you're going to want to check I am not a robot. And then your domains, remember, you're going to put in only the domain name, not the full URL. So you're just, for our example, it's going to be guest.webshopmanager.com. All right, and moving on. So remember, there are 6 fields that we need to fill in. The next 3 are going to be your owners. So if you are already logged into your Google Analytics account, the email that you logged in with your Google Analytics account will automatically populate in there, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you want to, if you want more individuals to own the reCAPTCHA key as well, you can add more emails and owners in there, and I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. And then accepting CAPTCHA, reCAPTCHA terms of service. Everybody knows what that is. If you've ever updated your iPhone or Android, there's always that terms of service that you want to update. If you ever want to go to bed at night and be put to sleep, you can read through these terms of service. And then you also have send alerts to owners. So if anything suspicious happens on for reCAPTCHA, they will go ahead and email you an email letting you know that, hey, there might be a problem with your site. You might want to check it out. And so what this looks like on the Google side is going to be, of course, you have your owners, which is support. Our example is going to be support@webshopmanager.com. And of course, I checked the reCAPTCHA terms of service right here. And if you want to read a little bit more, you can push down that drop-down arrow where it says reCAPTCHA terms of service, and it gets you a little bit more information about it. And then if you want to send alerts to owners, you have the option to check it or not check it. It doesn't matter. And then right below that, there's going to be a submit button. Once you click on that submit button, you're going to be actually taken to a different screen, which is going to generate your site key and secret key. Now, these are actually really important that you need to have, and you're going to want to keep this screen up for when you're actually adding it to your Web Shop Manager account, as well as your inquiry forms. So now that we have that, now that we have gone over that, excuse me, we're going to do a live demonstration of what that exactly looks like. So I have my Google search bar right here. I'm already logged into my Google Analytics account, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in reCAPTCHA. As you can see right here, it automatically populates right there at the bottom. I'm going to select that. And then again, of course, remember through the a couple slides ago, we're going to have your admin console. You're going to want to click on that. I just so happen to have it already up right here. Different fields. So the first one we're going to put in is our label. It can be unique. The example that they give right here is you could put in your website domain name. So the example they have right here is example.com. But what I want to do is I want to make it a little bit more unique. I'm going to put Web Shop Manager. I guess that's unique enough. And then under reCAPTCHA type, you're going to want to select version 2. And then the I am not a robot checkbox is already checked, so you don't need to worry about checking that. And then your domains, you're going to want to put in your domain name to your website. Now, our domain name is going to be guest@webshopmanager.com. Your domain name will most likely be www.whatever your website's name.com. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this. This need to get the entire one. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy it and paste it in here. And I'm going to click on this little plus button right here where it says Add Domain. Now I can put in more websites if I want to. It won't generate more than one reCAPTCHA site key, but it will just give you one site key to for all your websites. And again, underneath that, we have our owners, which is support@webshopmanager.com. And if I wanted to add more emails or more owners on here, I'm just going to put in more emails. So a@b.com. and I'm going to click this little plus with a person beside it. And that will add the email, which would be an owner to this website. Then I'm going to check alerts to owners checkbox, because I want to make sure that if there's anything going on with my site, that Google sends me that information. Then I'm going to click on the submit button, and then there you go. My reCAPTCHA key has been automatically generated. It's pretty easy to do. I'm going to keep this web page up because remember, I'm going to need this for when I actually add it to my Web Chat Manager account. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring up my Web Chat, bring back up the PowerPoint. And we're going to go ahead and continue. Seem to be having a little bit of technical difficulties. I apologize, everyone. Okay. All right. So now that we're logged, now that we have our reCAPTCHA site key, we're going to go ahead and log into the back end of our Web Chat Manager account, and we're going to hover our mouse over the System tab and click on the Configuration button right there, Configuration screen. From here, you're going to want to select the General tab. So you have Site Information, and then right next to it's going to be General. And then you're going to want to scroll down to where it says Customer Form Spam Settings. And as you can see right here, there's 4 different fields that we need to fill in order to get reCAPTCHA activated on our site. And I'll go over what each of these fields are here in just a second. So of course we have our reCAPTCHA site key. And so what I would do is I would go back to my reCAPTCHA account and copy that site key and paste it into the reCAPTCHA site key field. And then I would do the same thing for the secret field, for the secret key, and copy and paste it into that field as well. Now the 2 below it, you have your submission limit and your submission limit interval. This is actually a really cool thing because if I actually, I can select between 1 through 20 for submission limit. And what that does is that it gives the amount of attempts for the customer per IP within the interval time. So if I set this to 10 and I typed in, or if I was trying to get access to this submit a newsletter, so if I did it more than 10 times, I would actually be locked out from actually getting a submission newsletter. And that submission limit interval time, all that is that after 60 minutes has gone through, I can actually redo it after I can actually redo it again after 60 minutes if I was locked out. Now, if you get locked out, if a person gets locked, they will need to notify to contact support for the assistance. Once the submission limit level has been restored, it just waits for the 60 minutes to expire. So that's actually pretty much it for actually adding your Web Chat Manager, adding Google reCAPTCHA to your Web Chat Manager account. And we're going to do a live demonstration to see what this looks like. So again, so I have my site key up and my secret key up. I'm going to go to the back end of my Web Chat Manager account, and I'm going to go ahead and click on, hover my mouse over System and click on Configuration. Once this populates, remember we're going to click on our General tab, and we're going to scroll down to where it says Customer Form Spam Settings. So now what I need to do is I need to copy and paste my reCAPTCHA site key into this field. And the easy way of doing that is just going back to your reCAPTCHA, click on Copy Site Key, going to the back end of your Web Chat Manager account, right-clicking in the field and clicking on Paste. And that would do the exact same thing for the reCAPTCHA secret key as well. Next, I'm going to want to change my submission limit. So again, this means that if the customer has 10 times, it's automatically set 10 as the default. But I don't want the default to be 10. I actually want it to be a little bit less. So I'm going to select 3, and that means the customer has 3 times to attempt to get past the reCAPTCHA. And then if they go more than 3 times, they're going to be locked out. And then the submission limit interval, I'm going to keep at 60 minutes because that's a really good standard. And so after 60 minutes has expired, they can go back and they can try it again. And that's pretty much it. We'll have to save our changes. Remember, we're always going to have to save our changes. And there's actually a way to test out whether or not you've actually reCAPTCHA is saved successfully to your website. Of course, you have this configuration saved successfully, but if I want to check on my website, it automatically goes into your website. You just don't, excuse me, you might not be aware of it. So I'm going to go to preview my website, and where it says my account, I'm going to click on that option right there, and I'm going to go to where it says create an account. I am not a robot right here. That means I've successfully saved my reCAPTCHA site and secret key to my Web Shop Manager account. So now that we have done that, what we're going to do now is how to save it to an inquiry form. So let's go ahead and go back to our PowerPoint here. So now that we've added our reCAPTCHA to WSM, we're going to go ahead and add it to an inquiry form. So the way we do that is we're going to go to Content, hover our mouse over Content, and click on the Inquiry Forms option on that drop-down menu. Once this populates, you can either edit a current inquiry form by clicking on this little pencil and notepad right here, or you can add a new inquiry form right there at the top. And of course, there's a pencil and notebook icon right there. You click on that on an existing inquiry form, you would be able to add reCAPTCHA to that inquiry form. So now that we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and click on Add New Field. And then we're going to scroll down to where it says Fields and Section. And here what we're going to want to do is we're going to click on the Add Field/Section button. What this will do is that it will create a new gray box that you can actually put in the reCAPTCHA option. So what we would do here is where it says type, and next to the type there's in that field there says text. I'm going to click on that drop down arrow right next to it, and I'm going to locate where it says reCAPTCHA. And I'm going to select that option right there. And what happens is that the next thing you'll see is that reCAPTCHA will, all the other fields will disappear. And then reCAPTCHA is going to be the only option in that field. That means you've successfully added reCAPTCHA to that inquiry form. All you just need to do now is save it. Now, you can also move your reCAPTCHA field around a little bit more. So in this instance right here, you can see that I'm moving it up and down through my inquiry form. But best practice is actually putting it right above the submit button in order to get your best results for your website. So now that we know how to add an inquiry, how to add reCAPTCHA to an inquiry form, we're going to do a live demonstration to see how we do that in a live demonstration. So I'm going to go to the back end of my Web Shop Manager account, and remember, I'm going to hover my mouse over Content and click on Inquiry Forms. And here, what I want to do is I'm going to want to go ahead and edit an existing inquiry form. So where it says right here, contact, I want to make sure that if someone's contacting me, that I want to make sure that it's not a bot or someone trying to spam me. So I'm going to add reCAPTCHA to the contact inquiry form. So I'm going to click on this edit button, which is the pencil and notebook icon. Scroll to where it says field of this inquiry form right here. So I'm going to click on Add Field in Selection. And then I'm going to click on the drop-down arrow, and I'm going to find reCAPTCHA. Now, what you can do to actually speed up the process, you can select R on your keyboard 2 times. And the first one's going to go to radio. The second time you press R on your keyboard, it will go to reCAPTCHA. I'm going to click on reCAPTCHA. And then I'm going to move it up to right above Submit. Remember, for best results, you're going to want to move it right above the submit button. And that's pretty much industry standard. Scroll down to where it says Save Changes. And then my inquiry form was saved successfully. So now if I want to preview it on my front end of my website, I'm going to click on this this sheet in magnifying glass where it says View. And this will take me to the screen, my contact screen. And if I scroll down to the bottom right here, it will say, I am not a robot, reCAPTCHA, which means I've successfully saved my reCAPTCHA key to my inquiry form. So I'm going to check I'm not a robot. And then there you go. It checked it. And so I'm good to go for this website. And then I can type in all I need to do right here and then click on Submit. And that actually concludes our webinar on Google reCAPTCHA. Now I'm going to open up the floor to everyone. If there's any questions, Paulette and I will answer them accordingly. So we'll go ahead and open up the floor.
So thank you, Adam. Great presentation there. One question that we received is, what do I do if I don't know the Google account associated to my analytics? And to be clear, we're recommending that you use the same account, so you're only logging into Google once and you have access to all of your Google tools. As e-commerce owners, you should probably have an analytics account, or you should also have an AdWords account if you're doing any type of marketing. And then if you're actually using Google email, you would have your account that you do with your Google, and then here for reCAPTCHA. So instead of having to switch between multiple accounts, we just find it as a best practice is to use the same account, the same Google account, to set up the different Google tools. So if you don't know what that username and password is, you could contact Google. You could do a lost password, try it with your existing Google accounts that you have on file. If you need your Google Analytics ID to potentially do a recovery that way, we could help you with making sure that you know that ID. So we can assist a little bit, but Google won't actually talk to us about your account, so you will need to reach out to them directly. Another question that we have is, why would I want to change the submission limit on the form? What does that really do for me? And as Adam had explained, that I am not a robot removes the automated bots from coming into your site and trying to spam the site by submitting the same information or different information over and over again. So typically when it is a bot, it's going to come in and it's going to try, it'll do the submission and then it'll do it again, and it's automatically repeating. Now the box for checking usually will prevent that. However, you could get someone, say Adam's bored on a weekend, and he thought, oh, I'm going to go out and spam this website. And so instead of it actually being a bot, it's a person going in, they're being paid to literally spam sites. And so it would be them going in and filling it out, just like Adam was demonstrating, and physically clicking the box, submitting, and then doing the form again. So it's not an automated process that the bot would block, but it's literally a physical human doing it. And that's why you would want to potentially change that submission limit. Because if they do it 10 times as the default, that's all they're going to get through in an hour. And then they would have to wait that hour before trying again. And they're not going to, I don't believe we tell them that it's an hour. So as soon as that happens, it's going to deter them from using your site to do this, and they're going to go and try to find another site that they don't get blocked on. So that would be the value of changing that submission limit, and the reason why we have that there is to not only block the bots, but to block a human from being a bot, if you will. And then the final question that we received here was with the URL, and actually there's a question behind this, but I'm going to use it more as a statement, because with working with clients, setting up the reCAPTCHA, there's typically one error that we run into, and it's after you set up everything with your reCAPTCHA form, or you go to that account.html page, the create an account or the register. If it, instead of having a checkbox, it has a red message in there. So the reCAPTCHA, excuse me, is not set up correctly. We get that error, and typically when that occurs, it's because you didn't enter your domain correctly into the account setup. So you want to make sure that when you're creating your reCAPTCHA and before you're generating the keys, that you're using your exact domain for your website. Some sites use www, some do not. So if you do what Adam did during the demonstration, and you go to the back end of Web Shop Manager and you copy everything in there outside of the HTTP or HTTPS, if you just copy the pure domain and paste that into the account setup with reCAPTCHA, it will prevent that error from occurring. All right, unless we have any other questions here, I'll turn it back over to Adam to finalize the webinar.
Yeah, thank you, Paulette. Thank you, everybody, for joining our webinar. I'll let you guys know that the next webinar is going to be on our Fishbowl integration. That will be in the first week of May. I'll send out an invitation to that. In that webinar, we're actually going to have Fishbowl representatives on the webinar with us, and so they'll be piloting that webinar mostly with Web Shop Manager, asking any Web Shop Manager questions directed towards us. I will have this webinar available to you guys by tomorrow, as well as some video tutorials with it as well. We created two video tutorials, one how to add it to your Web Shop Manager account, and another to add it to an inquiry form. Just as a reminder, in case you forget, it's both of them are about 3.5 minute long videos. Really easy, and it'll teach you how to do it again. So other than that, I'd like to thank everybody again for joining our webinar. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next webinar. Thank you very much.
Have a great Easter, everyone.